You'd expect this from a Republican governor from New Jersey, but would you expect it from a Republican governor from the state of Georgia? On the line joining me is D.A. King. He writes for Breitbart.com. He is also founder of the Dustin Inman Society. You can find that on the website, DustinInmanSociety.org. D.A., thank you so much for stopping by South Georgia today.
My pleasure, Bill. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, I was reading an article in Breitbart.com about Governor Nathan Deal with his controversial appointment for the State Board of Corrections. Tell me a little bit about what this has caused, this appointment, who this appointment is, what it's all about.
Bill, what immediately leaps to mind is this is a real head-scratcher. I'm pretty involved in politics, and I'm considered furniture in the Georgia Capitol when they're in session. I've been studying and been active on illegal immigration for a decade now, and I know all the players. And the governor, for reasons we can't yet understand, has appointed a woman named Rocio Del Milagro Woody to the Board of Corrections. Now, Ms. Woody is a Board of Directors member of an organization called the Georgia Association of Latino Elected Officials, or the acronym being GALEO. GALEO is an organization that is in part funded by Jane Fonda and marches in the streets of Atlanta demanding an end to enforcement of our immigration laws. Their leader is a dedicated far leftist and a former fundraiser for the Democrat Party and Democrat candidates. He has made it clear that it would be an insult to his culture if we made English the official language of the United States of America. His name is Jerry Gonzalez. He is a far leftist. Everybody associated with his group is a far leftist, with the exception of the one token Republican on the board of directors who is now suing the Board of Regents to try to obtain a in-state tuition rate for people who are in the country illegally. It is a complete mess, and these people are very well known around Atlanta in political circles. When we found out that Governor Deal had appointed one of their own to the Board of Corrections, it just created a huge shock, and nobody can really figure out why it's happened.
What was Governor Neal's thinking behind this? What was his rationale? We'll ask D.A. King that right now. In his thinking, you try to get into his mind. Is he hoping that somehow this is going to benefit him politically coming up in 2014? His approval ratings are fairly decent for an incumbent. Last time I checked, maybe that's changed since the last time I checked. What is his thinking behind this?
All I can do is repeat my first line. No one can figure this out. And to answer your question, no, sir, it cannot. These are not people who are going to vote for small government, low-tax, conservative candidates, no matter if you put one of them on the Board of Corrections or not. There is no political advantage to this that I can see, and many other people that I've checked with. It's a complete mystery. And we see a photograph in the governor's office of I think it's 7 or 8 people standing in a row next to the governor, and one of them is this Jerry Gonzalez character, who is the executive director of this Galeo group. Now, Jerry is a committed far leftist. He is a former agent for an organization called the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, whose founder, a man who is now gone, named Mario Obledo, once made it clear on the radio in the mid-'90s in California that California is going to become a Hispanic state. Anyone who doesn't like it ought to leave. They ought to go back to Europe. Direct quote from these people. And because I study and am active on illegal immigration, I need to take a moment, if I may, to make it clear that my adopted sister is an immigrant. We don't have anything against immigration. Many of my friends are immigrants. We are totally against the crime of illegal immigration, and we are very pro-English language here in the U.S. and in Georgia. So the motivation here is nothing other than trying to stop illegal immigration. But as a side issue, I am a conservative. I am a committed, independent voter conservative, and we have a Republican governor who has appointed one of these far leftists, again, on an organization funded by Jane Fonda, to the Board of Corrections. It's a head-scratcher.
Mrs. Woody, she has made some public statements on illegal immigration, in particular Arizona's recent laws. Tell me a little bit about some of what she has said.
It's the usual line. For people who keep their nose in this like I have for more than 10 years, the standard line is that if we actually enforce our immigration laws and try to protect jobs, benefits, and services from people who are here illegally in an effort to provide those jobs to legal residents, including real legal immigrants, the talking point from them is that if we enforce our immigration laws, then it's anti-business. And the other one is the constant and endless attempt to confuse people with the redefinition of terms. For example, in the United States, the word immigrant has a legal meaning. The federal government defines immigrant as someone who comes to the United States lawfully with the intention of permanent residence. Again, like my adopted sister. If someone comes here illegally or comes here legally and overstays their visa, they are not an immigrant. They are an illegal alien. And what these people try to do is to say that if you're against illegal immigration, then you are somehow anti-immigrant and thereby anti-immigration.
The national media, Georgia media, completely silent until D.A. King broke the story. You look at this appointment for the State Board of Corrections. How powerful and influential is this appointment when it comes to the Board of Corrections? With what kind of decisions would Mrs. Woody be able to make that would affect a lot of people?
It is an official appointment. This is an official position. There is authority involved, and it sets a precedent. And so far as I can see, that is, and I know the governor, and I've always liked the governor, and I was very honored to be in his office just about 6 weeks ago for a meeting. It sets a precedent where we have a conservative Republican governor appointing a far leftist to an official position on the Board of Corrections. I would urge people to at least call or write the governor's office and perhaps ask them for an explanation. I haven't gotten one.
Is there an organized effort right now to try to stop this appointment or undo this appointment? How much headway is this making? I was noticing, reading your article in Breitbart.com, Georgia media is nowhere to be found on this at all.
Jim Galloway, who is the political insider for the AJC, and I regard the AJC as a left-leaning propaganda tool, but that's just my opinion. Jim Galloway did mention my Breitbart write-up in his political insider column. Other than that, I cannot find and have not heard one single mention from any media member here in Georgia about this appointment until I brought it up, and then only once in the political insider. And that includes the Associated Press and any news service here in Georgia or any local newspaper. It's kind of like it never happened until I found out about it. Now, what I have done is found in the Constitution that the Senate has to have final approval on all appointments to the State Corrections Board. Now, that strikes me as odd, and I've asked several elected officials about this. We have an opportunity here to learn about our Constitution and maybe stop this, but this woman was appointed in August and sworn in to the Board of Corrections in September. But the Constitution says she has to be finally approved by the Georgia State Senate. Now, I am told that normally happens at the end of the session. The 2014 session for the Georgia Senate does not start until January, and then it normally runs until the first or second week of April, 40 session days. So my point is, right now we have a woman who's been appointed and sworn in, but not approved by the Senate, as is demanded by the Constitution in the state. So if the Senate does not approve her, the appointment will go away. I am now in contact with every Republican state senator, making them aware of this, and I've just asked a simple question. How does a far-left appointee to the Board of Corrections get approved by a Republican-controlled Senate in an even-numbered year?
Absolutely. It's quite shocking. There's many people speaking out about it, including Kay Godwin, who is in our listening area from Blackshear. Many people know who she is, and you have mentioned her in your column. It looks like there's a lot of people raising their voice, and hopefully that message will be sent to Georgia and all the representatives that are playing a part in this.
Well, you mentioned Kay. Kay Godwin and Pat Tippett are some of the most dear people I know. They are not only personal friends, but personal heroes. I look up to them, and I love them both. I hope people will follow their lead and express their outrage at what we are talking about, Bill. We all have not just the privilege, but the duty of raising our voice to the people we have elected to send to our government, whether it's to our local city, county, or state government. All politics is local. I hope that people will at least pick up the phone and call their state senator and ask them if they plan on voting to approve the appointment of Rocio Del Milagro Woody to the Board of Corrections and make it clear her history. You've got this article posted. People can easily read, and all I did was include the tip of the iceberg on these folks. These are far left people who are never going to vote conservative, Republican, small government, ever. These are committed leftists, and one of them is now on the Board of Corrections, appointed by a Republican governor.
My guest is D.A. King with the Dustin Inman Society. We will put his website up on our website, and we'll also connect it to our fan page on Facebook as well. D.A. King, good talking with you, and we sure appreciate you stopping by South Georgia today.
Always my pleasure, and happy to come back. Thank you very much.